Are we ready?
Yo.
I
Yes.
am ready.
Ew.
Hello and welcome to the Loose Butthole Reviews. I am your host Smokey, and joining with me as always is my co-host Spooge.
Oi.
And joining with us again is our co-hosts Murda and Starfish.
Konnichiwa.
Hi.
And before we get into the review proper, I have to give the 3 rules of our rating system. The first rule is it must be a fraction of 5, 1 being we hate it, 5 meaning we love it. Rule number 2, if we want our money back, we give it a good old Jeff Goldblum. And rule number 3, if we all agree that's doing the review that it deserves a God tier, a 6 out of 5, then it will get a God tier. And today, we are reviewing Birdman Japan! Yes.
Dai Nippon Jin. Dai Nippon Jin. Dai Nippon Jin. Dai Nippon Jin. Dai Nippon Jin.
From 2007.
Yes, from
Yep,
2007.
from 2007. That is the Japanese name for this film. It is a all Japanese film. It is another kaiju film, as we've been going through this month of kaijus. It is both starring and directed by Hitoshi Matsumoto.
I had to state
And
the Asian version of me from the timeline where I'm Asian.
yeah, so we open up on this film, and we have a man with really long hair, in a beanie, I believe, and he's got a very fly outfit.
All
And
his
he
outfits
is
are fly.
getting interviewed, and he's getting interviewed. And yes, all of his outfits are indeed fly.
They all look like real fly thrift store outfits.
Oh, they're definitely
Yeah,
from the thrift store.
yeah, they are definitely from the thrift store. Um, Now we'll jump into the plot here. Just a little bit of forward on this. Um, because this is an all Japanese film, finding actual production notes and things of that nature of what all went on behind the scenes was very difficult. This is also peak underground film. Um, this is written and directed by the same guy and also starring the director and writer of this film. So very small crew here.
Which I
Um,
understand why it's an underground. Like people see the CGI and they instantly disconnect and they no longer. But that's such a shame. Like people just gotta let the CGI be so bad. You gotta let it be
well,
bad. You gotta let it be.
well, Smokey, I don't generally judge a film by its CGI alone, but just having not. So this is my first time viewing this film,
Yes, but the majority
and
population does. That's for sure. If you have bad
yeah,
CGI, it will kill your film. Like it
yeah,
will turn like people will look at that, and not only is the CGI bad, but unfortunately it's almost to the level of Xavier the fucking angel. I'm
Um, I,
Renegade
I
Angel, which
wanna, I
I
wanna.
actually love.
yeah.
That's what I was
Xavier
about
the
to
Renegade
say.
Angel.
I want to say that's what I liked about the CGI of
Well,
yeah,
just
and
how strange it was.
when it comes to Xavier
yeah,
Renegade Angel, the CGI makes me sick because I was super young, and the only time I watched it I was deathly ill. So now that CGI just makes me deathly ill, and it was almost to that point. It was at it was
Understandable.
it was teetering on that, and I was like, oh, people are not going to jive with this very well. That's why it didn't. Even though it did make didn't it make roughly 10 million in the box office?
It
I'm
did.
sure we'll find out about that. Yeah, but yes, it did.
Okay, just
It did.
making
It
sure.
did. It did surprisingly well. And one of the reasons it actually did so well is that when it actually came over to the U.S., it had like a whole couple of years just going to all the different like film festivals and stuff. Um, Again, because this is a really independent kind of underground film. It never quite like broke through. Um, into the U.S. popular culture, and I think that's a shame. And to finish the point that I was going to make about the CGI here is that having never seen this and like knowing that we were going to review this, I did a cursory glance, just basic Google search and stuff, and I was like, "Ah, man, we're gonna end up with another dud," and I was very happy with what we got out of this. Um, so we're getting interviewed by this guy. He talks about his umbrella for a little bit and how he likes things that get big when they need to, and that seems to be a common thing that he really likes. Um, we follow him. He
He
gets off
likes
the
relatable
train.
objects.
Yeah, he gets off the train. Um, we're still following him, kind of asking the person behind the cameras, kind of asking him, questions about his life. It's on the verge of found footage, mockumentary, documentary type of filming that's going on so far. Um, and he passes an umbrella shop. He's like, oh, he sees that there's a sale going on. He's like, "Oh, should I go in there?" And then he's like, "No, no, I shouldn't do that." And then he,
I don't mean to interrupt, but when he looks at that umbrella shop, I just kind of noticed that there weren't any like fold out umbrellas. They were all
nope,
the kind like that, you push up on the little umbrella part and it comes out. But the kind he was holding was one where it's small and you press the button and like the whole thing kind of like comes out in two links, if that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah, and we should say that the umbrella shop was specifically the bamboo style with the rice paper, like
Right.
the
They didn't actually fold
waterproof
out. It's
rice,
just the umbrella part folded out, but not the whatever you call the stem of the umbrella.
the staff.
The
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 staff,
handle,
The
yeah.
umbrella.
The shaft.
the handle of the umbrella.
I think
The
shaft.
sh- it's a shaft. Look at it.
It grows big. I
Extends
think
like a
it's a shaft.
shaft.
Hey,
Yeah.
I mean,
It
you can
erects.
have you can have a retractable handle. The
Yeah, no one's saying you can't.
Lizards have
Um,
retractable penises.
what animal grouping was that, Spooge?
Reptiles.
Oh, nice, nice. Is it a specific family of reptile that does that, or just the whole entire genus?
Most.
Yeah, all of them. I mean, all of them have their
And birds.
genitalia inside because they're cold-blooded, so they don't have to worry about like. That's why they don't have like testicles too. All their testicles are internal because they don't have to worry about their bodies cooking all their sperm.
Oh, thanks.
We're getting completely off topic, but does it ever blow anyone's minds that birds are reptiles?
Oh yeah,
No.
for the longest time because I was like, I was always like, yeah, I get that they evolved from it, but it always seems like they're very separate. But no, it's correct. It's definitely correct
Classified
to
as
say they're
reptiles?
But they're like
It blows my mind.
they're very like cross between. Like, they have a lot of like mammal features too about them, especially with their like emotions and stuff.
I never think of birds as reptiles, but they are.
It's because they're a lot more
Okay,
emotional.
I mean,
it's true. We don't have to get on that tangent. I just, just
They're
a thought.
dinosaurs.
They,
Yeah, I mean,
yes, they
that's what I
are for
always
sure
thought.
dinosaurs. Yes.
yeah.
All right, moving
That's
on.
even crazier.
kind of strangling the podcast like the first monster.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was on purpose. It was on theme. Let's move on.
Mhm. I'll talk to animals all day.
Yeah, we're supposed to be talking about Big Man Japan.
All right.
So we follow him around. He hops into a grocery store real quick. Hops back out. We're just kind of seeing him go through his coming home from wherever he was out and about from, and we get to his house. And his house is not in a super fancy area of Japan. This is not a penthouse in a Tokyo skyscraper. This is a small, somewhat traditional style home.
Very
and
cluttered.
It's very cluttered. It's very Studio Ghibli
Hey,
aesthetic
to-
with the cluttering.
The clutter he ain't got the space. Sometimes you ain't got the space. Sometimes you gotta just live with clutter. It sucks.
True.
you
Yeah.
live
No,
in a
no one's
small
saying.
studio apartment. Oh, and you don't want to get rid of your things. You can't pay for a storage unit. you gotta you gotta make compromises.
So we see him go inside this home, and then the camera actually stays on the outside here, and we get to know kind of what the public feels about him in a way. We see a drawing of a kind of like a childlike drawing of a big guy with kind of a mohawk type thing with his hair standing on end. We see um, some people who are not very happy with him, um, basically saying that like, you should leave, go away, all these types of things. And then we see the actual placard of his home, and it says Daisatsu.
Daisato.
Um,
Huh?
yeah, Daisato.
Which isn't
Yes.
that his
Sorry.
name?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
that is his name. Um,
Didn't it say
which is
Department of Monster Defense on his house too?
yeah, it says that in the placard as well. Just to let everyone know, like, this is where he lives and stuff. Which is both a good thing and bad thing, as we find out through the course of the film. Um, we then get to see him making a meal. He has a cat, and he's asked about the cat. And I thought this was an interesting character vignette here. Is he's the filmmaker says, "Oh, is that your cat?" And he says, "No, but I don't think any cat can ever be owned. Like, all
It's
cats are
true.
strays, just like all people. All people are strays. No one can ever really own a person."
Cowboy Bebop.
Um, yeah, and that's something that we see him. You know, this is really great foreshadowing for the things that happen a little bit later in the film. He sits down to his meal, and he's got dehydrated seaweed. And the camera crew asks him again, "Oh, do you like that?" And he says, "Yeah, I do like it. You can put it on anything. You can put it on your tofu, you can put it on your rice, you can put it in your soup, and as soon as it touches some water, it gets big. And I really like things that get big again. Why spend all that money on fresh seaweed when you can just have this?" And then we find out that I believe this is when we find out that he's got a family and stuff.
Uh,
Filmmakers asking him
he
more about
he
his
had
life.
a family that it's got a he's not they're not really present in his life anymore. It's not his. It's definitely not his fault. But there's definitely a distance there that will never be recovered.
So he is a father. So I think by that within itself is considered to be having of a
Just because
family.
just because you're a father doesn't mean you have a family.
I mean, he does say that he is separated from his wife. They're not divorced yet, but they're separated, and he says that he sees his daughter once a month.
Yeah. Well, again, it's very
Later we find
they.
out it's 6 times a month too.
Yeah,
Yes, we find that out later, but he says
Or I
once a month.
mean, once every 6 months. Is what I
but
heard. Yeah,
again, it doesn't necessarily mean they're family. It's they,
Ideological semantics.
yeah. There's not a. He might be like optimistic about it, but what we see later, it's evidently clear it is not what
Yes,
he
I mean
is
this is
saying.
Um,
the
He's
first
being an unreliable narrator in this situation.
we don't know that yet.
Ideological
oh,
semantics.
We
Is
don't
all
know
I'll
that
say.
yet, but this is kind of the first inkling that there's a little bit of sadness going on in his life.
Yeah, definitely not a happy family.
yeah, and so I think I'm not really gonna touch that anymore. So while he's talking about his personal life, a brick smashes through his window.
Which scared the shit out of me.
Um, it's very abrupt. I would almost consider it, I guess, a jump scare. In a way. Um,
They do
and
lull
then
you
the
into a false sense of security. Like nothing's major has happened. It's just been
It's very quiet and calm.
yeah, and then all of a sudden just smash.
yeah,
It
and
got me.
yeah, and so then he goes and tapes it up with some newspaper and stuff, just so he doesn't have just a broken window. And then another brick smashes through the room, like more of the glass of his window.
Which it's not funny, but God, the timing of it was just so perfect.
Also, Spooge, if you said something, you are muted. I just possibly heard you in the other room trying to speak. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're muted.
yeah, yep, he sure is. Uh, so then we go to the next day, um, and we open up with these really nice little quaint outside shots of this noodle house. And on the outside of the noodle house, we see Daisato go in, um, and sits down. Waitress walks by. He gets the super noodles, and then we see him eating for a little bit. Then we hop into the kitchen of the noodle shop, and the filmmakers are asking the cook and probably chef owner here, um, well, did you know who he was? And he said, no, I had no idea. Well, how often does he come in here? I mean, he comes in here, probably 2, 3 times a week or so, and finds out, he always gets the super noodles. He always gets the same exact thing. He's never gotten anything else off of the menu, and he's been coming there for like a very long time. I don't think it specifies like how many years, but he goes to the same noodle shop, 2 or 3 times a week, like pretty religiously. So we see he's kind of a man of habit, with his own personal life. Um, and then we hop over to the park, um, and we have he's first off, in the park. He has a beret on. It is a leopard print beret. It looks probably felt, um, and he's got this big trench coat. He's looking real fly again. Is what I'm trying to get at here.
Yeah, I
And
was into it.
yeah,
I
no,
mean,
it's great.
again, all his outfits are on point. There's not a single outfit that I'm like, oh, he should not be wearing that. I want all of them. I want everything.
Yeah, very color coordinated as well.
I wouldn't be
He's
surprised
always
if it
matching
was.
tones.
Yes, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some product placement going. Like that was a fashion brand because there's a lot of product
It's-
placement in this.
As fly as the outfits were, I took that as as him picking things like that as a joke, kind of like to show kind of the how eccentric the character was. And also
Yeah,
to
that's-
show that
that's
they were
what I
like
took
buying
it
from
at.
thrift stores
That's what I
too.
took it as too, Spooge.
Poor and eccentric.
I
What what I took it as, and this kind of ties into something that you find out later, but I took it as his sense of freedom in dressing how he wants, because we learn later that this man has absolutely no agency over his own body. So I took
Yes.
his
Oh.
choice of fashion in like, I'm expressing myself through fashion because I have no control over anything else in my life.
and that
Yeah.
And I
100
also feel that way about his hair too, and we do see a haircut mid movie.
yes.
Yeah, we do get
And
we
it's
do get a
I
haircut.
want-
awful
100%.
haircut.
I 100% agree with Murda on that theory right there. That it's him wanting to control something in his life.
Yes.
It's a
It's
good.
just a
That's a good.
way to express himself when he
Mhm.
just doesn't have any other outlet.
And when you're
Yeah.
poor and not making any money, where how else are you going to express yourself? Thrift shop.
Hey, I'm with him.
Thrift shop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So over here with the very fly thrift shop king, um, we get asked some more questions by the filmmakers. And we find out that this is a park that from his perspective, he used to go to a lot. He doesn't really go to it as much anymore, because this is the park that he would always take his daughter to, like when she was a toddler and stuff like that. So we know that his daughter's, getting a little bit older, um, and he gets asked some other like personal things of what kind of year, like time of year he likes and all that kind of stuff. And then he gets a call, and he is like,
Why do you
hold on,
think
this may be work.
why do you think they were trying to hide what he did? It was evidently clear like the filmmakers knew what he like they never tried to hide who he was or anything. Why do you think in this moment they were trying to hide his job by saying he's got to go bake?
I yeah, I mean, I'll get to that whenever we
I
get
think
to
it was just
that.
like government code
We're at
word
that part though.
thing.
This is where it's the phone call he gets. Yeah, this is the part where he's like, "Oh,
Yeah,
is it
so
time?"
he
I was
gets
I
like,
so he
"Oh,
gets he gets he gets his first call, and then he can't take it.
Mhm.
Like he basically is on call, like on alert at that point. Filmmaker starts asking him some other questions, gets another call, and that's when he says, "Yep, it's time to go bake." Um, so I don't. With that, I think that it's I think it's a good code for because clearly, like, the government knows that these people are filming him.
Mhm.
He's very, very tied to the defense of the nation,
Mhm.
and
I
so
mean, he
like
just seems to
they
be a public figure in general. Like there is no
right.
reason to be
Mhm.
hiding it whatsoever. Like
Well,
clearly,
I don't.
if he gets a phone call and it's like, "Hey, I gotta leave real quick," and then a gigantic fucking big man comes stumbling
I
in the direction
so
that
I
he
think
left.
I think you're missing I think you're missing the point. So like the thing with that is I think the public maybe has suspected for a long time that the high voltage electricity, as we find out later, is what lets him grow to enormous proportions. Um, but I don't think, like, the film crew wasn't allowed into this first time that he transforms, right? And so
It
I
was the
think
first
I think I
facility.
think I think
It was a complete.
I think
He went to two different facilities. He went to one that they couldn't film at, and then he went to one that they didn't give a
yep.
fuck. Like it was just a
Yep,
lights
sure.
facility.
Yep, yeah. He sure did. But I think, like, I don't think prior, like, when they go to the first facility, I do not think that I think that it's suspect amongst people that he's using electricity to grow all huge, but I don't think that it has been um like actually said yet. Like, I
I
don't think that, his family has said, "Hey, we use electricity to grow really huge," to the public. So I think that's why he's
maybe
using that as
maybe that
bait.
was just a way to like kind of delay the movie watchers from exactly knowing what was happening.
well, I
And
think
I
it's sort of just the them trying to like perpetuate like what like maybe at one time it was like a big secret in his heyday, and when it was his heyday, the government cared. He actually had an actual facility. He wasn't just in like probably in just his house because like we see before like oh his house is just the department of monster defense, but there's like no one else there. It's just his house, and I feel like it's them just sort of when we'll see later when they actually when we do get to see the whole transformation ritual, just like them kind of keeping up like this tradition of, oh, we still use the code words and we still pretend like this is something that is, a big secret, is a big importance to the government, but it isn't anymore. And like, even I think it maybe at one point, his identity was secret, but then people started to suspect, but also people just didn't care at this point because
Yeah,
he's just kind of
tradition.
in a loser state now. Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good interpretation. When I was
Mhm.
watching it, I wasn't sure if that was just like a word that had more meaning that was kind of getting lost in translation or what. But I like Spooge's interpretation of that.
Yeah, because I'm sure you never hear what like anybody's saying on the other side of the phone because they could be like totally not speaking in code and he's just like, oh wait, no, the code word? You mean going big? You know? You're like, yeah, I guess. Sure.
Um, and the starfish, I don't know if you were about to leave this scene, but before we leave this scene, we do get a little bit of like his perspective on foreign relations and like his perspective on the USA and things like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Which is
and
actually massively foreshadowing that I missed.
Yeah.
yeah. So we find out that back in the day, he got told some things. He doesn't necessarily say by who. We can kind of infer later on in the film that it's definitely his grandpa, probably his dad as well.
Yeah, he
Kind
says
of.
raised that way.
Yeah, he mentions a word in Japanese, which translates to anti-U.S. Um, and the filmmaker says, "Wait, you said this word? What? Why did you mean this word?" And then that's when we find out about that. And uh, yeah, we basically see that, like, he is proud to be a Japanese man. He's happy to work for the government and stuff.
He's
Um,
he's also never been out of the country.
I
yeah,
wouldn't say
yeah,
he's happy in his position. He definitely has grown accustomed to it.
yeah. So happy to defend uh, the country, like he's proud to. I guess maybe is a better turn of phrase,
Yeah, that
based off of his
yeah.
anti-U.S.
Or at
ideals.
least he feels it's his sense of his duty to his country.
Right.
It's his
And then
worth.
yes, as Murda said too, which also holds a pretty strong importance here. He has never been able to leave the U.S. And
Or the
when,
Japan.
or yeah, Japan. Sorry. And right before he gets the second phone call, where he actually has to get on the move, um, we find out, well, I can't do that because I'm perpetually on call. Like I can never leave the country. I can never go anywhere. I can't go overseas. I can't go, to Australia or, to Thailand or like any other place. Like he has to stay in Japan because he is always on call.
He has to
And
be
when he
the
gets the second,
only kaiju hero that they have because we don't see a single other kaiju hero.
yeah, yes, more than likely.
Other than
But
Justice.
yeah, but
Well,
that's
we're
way
jumping
at the
ahead.
very end.
Way jumping ahead.
That's
That is
jumping way
way at the
ahead,
very
but
end.
they are not
We'll
Japanese
find out. We'll
Let,
kaiju
find. Yeah,
let's
we'll
heroes.
find out. We'll find out about them here in a
let's
little bit.
not
I bet. I bet
talk
we'll
about
probably
them.
find out about them if we're gonna go scene by scene. Right. Right. We'll probably find out about them. I bet.
Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? We're just breaking down this
Well,
film scene by scene.
excuse me.
You're not
It's
excused.
it's a reveal. It's a reveal.
Yeah. So he
Strangling
hops
the
on.
review like a certain
He.
monster.
Yep. He hops on his scooter. And the camera crew hop in their car, and we are going to a facility. On the way up there, it's this tiny mountain path that he's got to take, and there is lots of passive aggressive notes between various people. Is what we see at first.
I would just say
We see
aggressive.
we see a note that says, dumping here is illegal, and then we see a bag of trash, and then a note saying, please stop leaving your trash here, like you're filthy. And then later on we see like another note also next to a single bag of trash, saying essentially the same thing. And then we turn a corner, and then there are these huge massive signs that say, where did all of our birds go? Stop using all of our electricity. What you're doing is unnatural. You're destructive. Stop wasting our resources.
And
And
we
all of these are,
we see these signs as we see Daisato just slowly riding past on his little moped.
yeah, yeah, and it looks to be like a mid '90s Honda scooter for those who care. Um, maybe just me, but anyways, and then we see him approach these gates. The guards of the gate let him in. The camera crew try to get in, and no, because and I think this is also why the baking thing is that this is a secret facility. Like, they're not allowed to film him transforming, any of that kind of stuff at this point in time. Um, and then we see
I'm
a
assuming
CGI monster
I'm
is the
I'm
next scene.
assuming I'm assuming that it's a private organization that's going on. That the government's not involved. That's why he's got to go to different facilities and stuff. That it's got to.
Nope, no, that's all nationalized.
Or they just.
I mean, that's why it says he's part of the National Monster Defense League. Like, all of these facilities
So
are
yeah,
also part of the
he's.
National
I think
Monster
they're just
Defense
heavily
League.
I'm not.
defunded.
I don't think. I'm saying I don't think the facility he's going to is like part of his department. I think he's just going to fucking facilities that's willing to allow him to do that to save the.
They do explain that those are just like the remaining facilities that were made specifically. There used to be 52 specifically for the Big
Yep.
Men, Japan.
Okay,
Yep.
so yeah, so
Yep.
there's definitely like a funding issue going on.
Yeah, they just defunded it. Like, a lot of them stopped. Like, a lot of cities
But
stopped hosting them.
yeah, but they are all nationalized. Like, all of the things. Like,
Yes,
it's not just
they are
some
national.
random, like,
Yeah, they
facility
don't
that
have
he's going
private.
to.
They
It's
don't have
like an
like
actual
privatized things like that
thing.
there.
No, because privatization is theft. Um, but anyways, so then we go to the next scene, and we get our first CGI.
Which is bad.
We
It's bad. I
yes,
can't.
so,
I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. The CGI in this is fucking trash.
so I'm gonna try to explain this. We see a a, a kind of grayish white creature,
It's a strangle
um,
monster.
with two kind of like Charizard esque legs. But then it has like a Lugia body, and then if you took Lugia's wings and made them touch tips, and they could never be unbound, and like
You're
destroyed
making
all
this
the
way too
feathers,
complicated.
like it would.
You're making it
That's kind of
way
how
too
like the arms
complicated.
would be.
Starfish, you are making it way too complicated.
And then it's
You
got
are.
like a
I'm, let me let me
and then it's
describe
like
it in layman's
and then
terms.
it's
Let
like
me
another
describe it.
then it's like
Let
another
me
then it's like
let me
another
describe it
then
in
it's
layman's
like another
terms.
then
Let
it's
me
like
describe it in layman's terms.
then it's
The
like
aliens
another
from
then it's like
Kamino.
another
Okay,
like
so this
long neck, kind of like
so
a
this so the
Alolan
monster is
executor.
literally a
um
Michelin man
and
with
then
black tubes
like
through
from
it.
the Alolan executor neck, we have just a Japanese
That is
man's
what it
face.
is.
You can't stop this avalanche.
That is definitely what it's just a Michelin man, tire man with a bunch of fucking black tubes between it. That's all you had to say.
So it goes, and it grabs buildings, and it squeezes them, and then um, it flips over and suplexes these buildings. The Michelin Man, I suppose.
Hmm. And then it squats and then sprouts out its little ovipositor
Yeah.
in the ruins.
Yeah.
Starts
So
squirting out some eggs.
Yeah, it does. It does. It is an ovipositor. Although for some reason, people here in the states thinks that it defecates spears. That is like one of the things that I found.
What? They look like eggs.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I know. That's what I saw too. Like it is an
Mhm.
ovipositor. Like Spooge, you and I are correct. Um, but for some reason, like when I was looking up, like, oh, what does this thing do and stuff, like I found like a couple of different places says like, oh, it then like defecates spears. That's what they thought the
Oh no,
ovipositor was.
it was definitely eggs.
Yeah, no,
He
it
was
definitely
definitely
was.
seeding the ground with his eggs, or she, or whatever.
Yeah. And I do want to just make sure that all of the listeners are aware. This creature has a Japanese man's face, um, with a very bad comb over that is constantly flipping the other way, and is completely bald, other than
It's
this like comb over
suplexing.
patch.
It's suplexing everything that it's strangling.
Yep, yep, sure is. And this is where we get to see Daisato in his element. He is now huge.
I wouldn't call it his
Roughly,
element, but he definitely doing his job. He
yeah,
ain't good at it.
he's
He's
doing his
not good
job.
at it.
So he rolls up on this thing. Just for everyone, um, the both the film, as well as like different production things, state that he's roughly 30 meters tall, when he's in his kaiju form, which is about 100 feet. It's a little shy of 100 feet. Um, and so then he goes to battle it, and he just charges at it. It grabs him, does his little strangle choke thing, and then suplexes him. Um, and uh, after getting suplexed, it goes to try to grab another building, but it can't quite get its arms over the top of the building. It's like a huge skyscraper, and it keeps trying and trying. Doesn't quite make it. And then he has this like a big kind of club type weapon, like baton almost, sort
Which
of.
they are too
Um,
lazy to animate him putting it down. He's always holding it up above his head as high as possible. he will. They refuse to animate
Got
that
to be
one
ready to
arm.
strike. He's got to be ready to strike.
Yeah, and so while it finally like starts to get its arms around this building. And by the way, the arms are just a big circle, like they're conjoined and stuff. Like he doesn't have two arms; he just has one like loop of arm. Um, and it almost gets it, can't quite, can't quite get it. And that is when he strikes at it with his baton, and um, it like breaks its arms essentially. Like it snaps like the cording inside of its arms. Um, and then does someone else want to finish up the scene that ends up happening with this creature after the arms bust apart?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it snaps, and then from the force of the tension breaking, it goes the one part of the arm smacks back into his head, cracks his neck, and he hits the ground.
Yep. And then
And then
yeah, and it's pretty great. Once he hits the ground, we have a beam of light come down from the heavens, and we see a ghostly form of this creature like slowly rise up.
do we
And
do we get an
the first time
explanation?
seeing this, the
What do we
first
get an
time seeing this,
do we get an explanation for why this is happening at
I
all?
think that's
Like
just to
in the
signify that they're
whole,
They
dying.
go into heaven.
like
Yeah.
in the whole, like
I took it as like, you know how in a video game you kill a monster and there's like some way that they dissipate, like you don't just like see their body laying on the ground usually. At least
sometimes.
in like a lot of the like older RPGs, like
Yeah.
turn-based.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
they
know
like
what you
Like,
that
mean, Berta.
pixelated, like animated, going to
yeah,
Yeah,
disappearing.
those are
Yeah,
assets he's using.
that's kind of what I took it as, and I took it. Oh, they're going to heaven.
but the bodies don't go
Yeah.
nowhere. The bodies that stay there. What do they do? I
Their
need more
souls are going to heaven.
information. I need more information on the monster defense in this. Like, what do they do with the
Well, that's too
corpses?
bad. You don't get to know.
I don't get to
No one
know
gets to
nothing.
We
know.
don't ever see what happens with the corpses, but
I
we see
just
this
sit there
we
and
see
rot.
the spirits go into heaven, and I will say the beam of light is one of the like funniest through lines for me in the movie.
Yes, yeah, same.
I think there's enough
And as I was,
rubber. I think there's enough rubber in that strangler monster to be resourceful. Some of these monsters got to have
Hey,
some use to them
yeah,
after they're gone.
maybe they use his body for the rubber factory and go recycle him.
yeah, that'd be cool. Um, and as I was mentioning, the the beam of light is just great. Having never seen this before, seeing that he defeated the monster, like of course, like it's a kaiju film, we know that this guy's the good guy. Of course, the opposing kaiju is gonna fall to him, right? And seeing that beam of light portray this is just completely inverts like my expectations, and it was hilarious. One, because like it's a clear like death of a kaiju, and two, just because of like how just like almost like satirical like corniness of it. It's just great. For people listening, you should watch it just for like up to this point because it's a complete like shock, and it's great. It's just awesome.
I
Um,
think it's both a parody and of like to kind of signify because there is like a TV show of him apparently that's canon, like apparently that like people are watching his fights on TV. um but it definitely shows like, oh, you can see why the ratings aren't going well.
yeah, so we'll actually get into that here, Spooge. So the next scene opens up with the mockumentary crew doing the whole man on the streets shtick. And they're just asking random people in that good target age range of what would that be, 18 to 35, just interviewing them. Oh, did you see Daisato's fight? Did you see Daisato's fight? And no one really cares. We find out from two ladies that like not only are they not a fan of him, but they want him to stop. Like they actively do not want him to like try and defend Japan from these other kaiju's.
They
Um,
also just
If
call him ugly.
if we are
yeah, and
going
they insult him as
if we
well.
are going on his current track record, it does seem like he's doing more damage than he is helping.
I disagree.
Yeah, based off of the one kaiju that we've seen, the kaiju destroyed two buildings, tried to destroy a third, and
And it
he
killed
stopped it from
itself.
destroying the.
The kaiju killed itself.
Okay,
He caused
okay,
it.
but
He caused it to kill
just
itself.
he broke its arm, which prevented the third building from being destroyed. So I think that's a win.
I mean, if you want to
Oh,
take it, I will say it's an assist. He did an assist, but he didn't get a full kill. I'll give him the 50
Oh,
points
okay,
all day long. I'll give him the
that's
50
that.
points, but he ain't getting the whole 100.
Sure, that's a good opinion.
The
Um,
the kaiju deserves the 100 points. It took itself out.
Well, the
wouldn't it
kaiju
get
is dispatched.
wouldn't it get negative 100 though?
It's
that's
is it,
only if you get killed.
no, that's if you kill yourself. They take away 100 points. So yeah, you're right.
Oh.
You're right. See, you're out nerding us.
Yeah, well, I mean, you directly challenged a thought that I had. So of course I'm gonna refute it. But anyways, so we find out that the general populace like doesn't like care about him at all, really. Doesn't really like him. Um, and now we go to this this area where there is his agent. There's a couple of military guys. There's like a couple of like sparse other like associates and some kids. So there's like some families kind of around and stuff. And here we kind of find out the toll, at least from from the agent's eyes of what happens to him from transforming and
Can we
stuff.
can we not refer to her as an agent because she's obviously just scamming the fuck out of him? She makes 50 grand.
Uh,
She makes 50 grand
uh,
every monster fight.
oh,
That's what they
I guess
stated.
I didn't know that yet.
Yeah, that
Okay, I
so
didn't know that yet.
so
What else
they
does she do?
massively scam him. Like she's not a fucking
Oh,
agent.
okay.
She,
How else do we know that?
how else are you gonna be scamming somebody by stealing money from them? Actively fucking saying that he needs to do better, but not better in him. How are you gonna be an agent?
When when does she say that?
Like 3 scenes from now?
Oh, okay. So we're jumping ahead then.
I mean, what? What's the problem with wanting to
Oh, someone
refer
else
to
got
her as
shamed
something
about it.
else?
Um,
It wasn't me this
I mean
time.
that's what she's in the film is credited for. You know.
I I still don't see
You're in
why
the
you
hot
gotta
seat.
kill this bit, but okay.
You're in the hot seat now. See, I was in the
uh,
hot seat before, but now you're in the hot seat. How's it feel?
so
I
what
just
else is
don't know.
going on? What else is going on in this when we meet her?
I if I'm gonna start leading it, we're gonna leap to the leaping monster because I'm done talking about the scene.
Oh,
The
okay.
the the
So
cameraman's
maybe
kind of
stay in your
weirdly
lane then.
hitting on her.
Oh
I
yeah, he's hitting on a lot of people.
I am gonna be leaping like my favorite monster, the leaping monster. That's what I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. So we're in this building. The non-agent agent. We get to find out
Scammer
what
agent.
happens to him. Uh, from the double agent maybe. Does that float your boat?
I mean, she's not really a double agent. She's just stealing his money. Just fucking stealing his money.
All right. Anyways, so this whole little clubhouse thing that they're in is specifically dedicated to Big Man Japan. We actually see some old photos. We don't get super in depth on them at this point in time, but we see some old photos kind of around and stuff. And we see the scamming agent. We don't know that she's doing any of that at this point in time. We just know that she's supposed to be representing him.
I mean, if you picking up on
And
her body language and everything, you can tell she's not doing her job. But yeah, I mean, it could be for the simple fact that he's unsuccessful and she's not getting paid. But there's a reason. There's a fucking reason. There's always a reason.
yeah, and so we spend some time with her. The camera crew is asking her, oh, you're on the phone a lot. Like, what, aren't you supposed to be here, like promoting him? What are you, kind of calling her out a little bit. And she's very flighty about everything. And then they ask her like, well, what happens after he's transformed? And she says, oh, well, he goes back to regular size, but it takes him a little while to do so. And he generally gets like pretty depressed, like after, you know like during like while he's becoming regular sized again. Um, but then she does bring him food. She brings him a big old platter of food, and we go into this room where we see these two kids that have already snuck into this room and are just in this room with this like huge giant man that he takes up like this, you know, takes up this huge area. And she drops food by his head and you know gives him kind of a half-hearted like good job, here's some food for you, if you get up or whatever. Um and then we go to his house the following, after he's become regular sized again. And this is where we find out how much money he's actually making, um because the the crew ask him like, oh well, um you know, I know that you used to be in the prime time slot, but now you're in the late night. And then we see like a TV guide essentially, and then at 2:45 in the morning is when Big Man Japan is actually on the air for the citizens of Japan to see this man who is defending their country from these kaiju. It's on super duper late night. So like
Right,
literally
right
no
after
one's
the
watching.
shopping network.
Yeah, that's right. They have like an hour and a half block of like shopping network shows before Big Man Japan actually comes on.
Agent went for
And
the cheapest fucking time block possible. Almost like she's pocketing the money or something.
yeah, maybe. And then he gets asked, well, you know, your ratings aren't very good. Like, you're only getting like 2% ratings. So like everyone who's actually awake at this point in time, like he's only getting 2% viewership. And so that's like, pretty abysmal. Um, and then they just straight ask him like, well, how much do you make a month? And he kind of
Let's put a little
stumbles over.
perspective to that. This 2 a.m. in Japan, most people are still working. Like people are still like killing themselves working. Like how I do not expect 2 a.m. to be like a prime viewing spot for the Japanese public to be watching TV. Like that. I mean, how small can that 2% really be?
For
Like
shut-ins.
who's
Well, what's interesting is that like yeah, I mean like some are, I'm sure, but I do know that like the majority, like excluding like the hardcore tech industry and stuff that they have out there, most countries operate in a similar fashion where like prime time to watch is Wednesday, Thursday, um, and Tuesday, like from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. That is when you have the most viewership of all time because all the kids are out. Adults are just returning from their day jobs generally. Um, so, I know what you're stating, but I think that like he's not in a prime time slot, right? Um,
so
no
rating?
one's really
I'm yeah.
watching
What I'm
him.
trying to say is ratings shouldn't matter when you. There's not going to be a viewership to get the ratings. Like there's
Right. Yeah. Right. And it's unfortunate that that's happened. And so we find out how much money he's actually making a month. And so for defending the country, he's making what was it, $5,000 a month? Um, and they ask him, it's like, oh well, um, how much money do you want to be making doing this? You're doing an important job, like you're protecting the entire nation. And he says, oh, like I don't know, $8,000 a month. So like, a decent raise, but like still, I mean, for what he's doing, it seems kind of ludicrous,
Yeah,
like on its face.
he's pulling in 60K a year, and that's, I
Is
guess,
that
pre I don't know
conversion
how their
or are they
taxes
talking
goes.
yen?
They can't be talking yen because that would
No,
be
that's
way
That'd be
too
nothing in
way too.
low.
yen.
they
No,
Yeah.
that's in USD.
they definitely included decimals in this.
Okay, good.
Yes, so this is in US dollars. And it's just, I mean, it's not nothing, but it's middle of the road, right?
I
Or it
mean,
used to
I'd
be,
say for
back in the day.
what his job is, he's putting his body on the line. And he does say, there can be a monster, every 6 months, or there could be a monster every day. Like, you don't know when that's going to
Yeah,
happen.
You would
So
think that
he is destroying his body and having to fight. That seems like a very high risk job, and that salary seems very low for that.
now I
right.
do they.
I
do they
do.
also do they also supply his housing and everything? Like, is he paying rent? Like,
No,
what's his bill
no, they do not.
situation? So
No, they don't. They supply
$5,000 in
nothing because
person. They well, that means he
they ask
pays
him.
rent. That means he pay. I'm
No,
asking,
well,
does he pay rent? Does he pay bills, or
so
does the government
so I okay
provide all that for
so
him?
okay so they ask him, well, that may be what your take home is, but like what other benefits do they give you? And he says they do not provide any other benefit other than the money. So now Japan has nationalized healthcare, um, and actually some of the best elder care in the world.
He's not an elder though.
um, no, but we're getting to that point. Um, and we also find out, that, like, I'm going to assume that this house has been owned previously by his family, um, because we then also get asked about the photos. And we see some of the different photos that are up on the walls and stuff, and it's old black and white photos of another big man. um, and that's where we find out that he has a grandpa. And they ask him, oh well, does the government help with the grandpa? And we find out that no, they don't really help with that at all either. So he's in just like their like basic
How how are they
nursing
supposed
home
to
care and stuff.
how are they supposed to take care of an elder individual that can grow 30 feet tall by getting electrocuted? How are you supposed to handle that? there's no there's like that's there's nothing you can do. Like, the only person that can handle him is the other people that can go grow 30 meters tall.
Yeah, but we don't really know any of that kind of stuff or anything. We just kind of okay, yeah, he's got a granddad that's in a nursing home, and the government's not
I mean,
helping
they
with
say
any of
that
it.
he's the fourth big man. Like, they do say that he's from a lineage, and all, like, even his father could grow big. We already know that his grandfather can grow big at this point in time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he does mention that yeah, his grandfather
He's actually his
was
grandfather's the fourth.
yes, the fourth in the line. Daisato is the sixth in the line.
yeah, with his dad being the fifth. And this is also where we get a shot at a very specific group of clutter, that appears to be like old toys and bric-a-brac, like random little tchotchkes and stuff. Um, and it's got the fourth or his grandfather's face all over it. And we find out that, oh, when his grandpa was doing it, there was a much greater emphasis, on like how important it was and all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah,
we
and
get like a
his
quick
grandfather was the most popular.
yeah, and we get a quick little flashback to some pretty excellent, like in terms of like quality, that it survived. Um, we get a quick little montage of this 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 big man, walking around in World War II era Japan. Um, and that's probably why, because the national sentiment at that time was, no one is better than Japan, essentially, without diving too deep into like the politics of World War II Japan.
Which if anyone who's spent a lot of time on YouTube, you'll probably recognize a lot of this footage from
Yes.
this movie being used in a lot of like some clickbait thumbnails about like real
Proof.
giants in history. Proof.
Because they essentially they do, it seems like they use real war footage, but they
Mhm.
insert the giant
it is-
man into it.
And it is obviously fake, but it is decently good for, especially on like how low budget on this movie's made, and compared to the other CGI that we
Yes,
get, like
so
it's really good.
whoever's interested should go like on YouTube and like search for like real footage of giants, and like there is a direct
There, it'll be the first
image
thing to
from
come
Big
up.
Man Japan.
Yeah, it's pretty great, and I would say this is like the end of the Xbox 360 PS3 era, like graphical quality, for a frame of reference, for the specific World War II footage, um, and then after that, Daisato gets another call, and he has to go somewhere else in the country. Um, we find out he hops on a speed train, a bullet train, to go to this other place. I can't remember the name of the city right now. Um, but he goes over there, and we find out that um, during this train ride that the government does not pay for like his travel to places either. So that means like they're not comping his gas or his like personal vehicle. They're not comping any of his train rides or anything like that. Like this is all out of pocket costs. Um, just kind of further exemplifying the fact that he, you know, is kind of pushed off to the side in a way. Um, when he gets there, I believe. Oh no no no! He hasn't met the agent yet. But he gets there, and this is where we get our second kaiju, which is the kaiju that speaks in Pokemon speak and only says "sight." And it is a one-footed, but it has a full butt um, creature. It's essentially just like a big giant leg with a
It's
head
the
on
leaping
top.
monster.
It's a big
It's called the
muscular
leaping monster.
leg with a head, but like two butt cheeks.
Yeah, it's
The
great.
head, the head is not. The head's vibing. The head's got a vibe, man.
It has it's said in the description of the monster that it has the mind of like a 3-year-old or something.
Yeah, an 8-year-old specifically. Yeah, I remember that.
He just seemed
Um,
like he's having fun jumping around.
I
yeah,
mean,
he is.
how cross-eyed it gets. Its eyeballs literally like roll up in the backside of its head and stuff. It gets pretty crazy. It gets out there.
Which, upon a little bit of research, like so, what he's jumping around saying, does that mean joy, like happy?
So Psy has a lot of different translations. Sai can mean life or living, when it's used with like Jinsai, which would be like human life essentially. Sai could also be a context for someone's birthday. Um, if it's used as an adjective, it could mean raw or undercooked. Um, it could also saying that something is genuine or true. Um, However, with this one, I think just because it's just saying "sigh," I think it's referring to itself, um, and like it's just saying like sprite or spirit.
Huh.
Okay.
But
The
yeah, but
Japanese language is the whole
yeah,
thing.
It's just I'm
because
trying
like
to
the other
make. I'm just trying
the
to
other
make more
thing
sense
is,
of it. Like what?
well, because like I could see, because like the like just sigh by itself, just only saying sigh would be like I'm gonna assume that it's a noun, which that would roughly translate out to spirit, sprite, or nymph.
Well,
And I could see it
does
considering itself a nymph.
does repeating it over and over again mean anything? That sometimes also him
There's definitely
saying it over
possibly
and
some
over
type
again.
of cultural thing that we're not getting.
I think
Yeah.
so because I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many different translations. Because I look here and it says to laugh, smile, or to express joy or amusement.
Yeah, but I mean and that's the thing too is like I could see that translation, working out
Yeah,
well
he's just like jumping
because he
around, like
is joyful.
yay!
Yeah. Yeah. Um so yeah, so it's hopping around and it's being destructive. It doesn't really care. It's just hopping around doing its thing. It's pretty great. It looks absurd. Again, we have another very Japanese face for this monster, um, which is like a pretty concurrent theme at this point. We've now seen two different kaiju of completely different shapes and sizes, both with a human-like face.
Because I think they're
And
comedians, aren't they?
yes, I was just about to say, they're not all comedians. A lot of these kaiju's faces and voices are Japanese actors and comedians. This one's name is Riki Take Tak. I don't know how to say this. It's not Takakuchi. It's Takeuchi. Riki
Takeuchi?
Takeuchi. Yeah. And he was in.
Nice.
It says starred in many Yakuza films and action films such as Dead or Alive or Battle Royale 2, Requiem.
I
Okay,
can
so
see
so
Um,
the
like
I can
some
see
so,
the
so
he was
like a
also
recognizable face then.
he had a short career as a professional wrestler.
Oh, that's cool. So recognizable to the pop culture of Japan then, right?
Yes, yes. And also the well, I can say it later, but the agent is also a she is a singer and actress.
Oh,
Nice. Um, so it's hopping around. He tries just attacking it and stuff. Doesn't really work out. It's really flighty. And again, we have a kind of precarious death here. Um, so it hops around a whole bunch. He grabs a hold of its leg and it starts like bouncing up, trying to get away from it, try to get away from Daisato, and he's just holding strong, and it can't really. It eventually does, and when it does, it flips end over end, lands in between two buildings with its head at the top. It can no longer jump, and it tries and tries and tries, and it, I'm guessing, overexerts itself, or it's like a shark and it can no longer move, so it dies.
It's a spoink
Uh,
situation, man. So
it
sad. So
oh, a
sad. You know what
Pokemon
happens?
reference.
Yeah, it's Pokemon references. For people that don't know,
Cool.
Spoink is a Pokemon that's like springs around, and if it ever stops fucking jumping, it dies.
Oh
I
man, I
just
wish
thought
I
I
could
thought
make
he got
Pokemon
his
references.
I thought he just like got his head caught in there and got squeezed. But maybe it's just because he needs to jump to live.
Yeah, I couldn't. I had a hard time with that one too, Murda, because I wasn't really sure. Like, is is it because it can't move anymore? Is it like overexerting itself? Did its head like slowly sink down and get crushed between the buildings, or what exactly happened? But here's where we get another the lights down from heaven again. It shines on it, and we see
His
its
soul ascending.
yeah, its little spirit ascend into the heavens. Um, and this is also where we get some more background on Daisato.
he's
Um,
definitely manslaughtering them.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Maybe.
he's the direct. Well, he's the direct.
Maybe.
He is generally the indirect cause of their deaths. Like if he did not shown up, it would not have gotten stuck in that little crevice.
But we don't. We can't confirm that it wouldn't have like slipped on something and like busted its head on one of the
Sure, but I mean
one of
that's
the buildings. But
right,
not
but
what
that's
happened.
what a,
monster. The strangle monster did kill itself. That's not man.
But
He's not getting
he hit
manslaughter
it.
on no strangle
He hit
monster.
it. It wouldn't have happened if he didn't hit it.
What are
He
you
snapped
trying to
it.
do? What are you doing, Ian?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, he's. I
Then
mean,
manslaughter.
Big Man Japan is
It's-
definitely the cause
you
of the
cannot
deaths. He,
you cannot definitively prove that that smack to the Strangle Monster was in fact the cause of the Strangle Monster's arms breaking and
I
smacking
can by
itself in the head.
watching the movie. I can.
If you push
Yeah.
someone into a
I
I
banana
agree with
peel
Murdo
and
on
they slip
that.
on that banana peel, you're the fault.
That's not how that works.
Yeah, if you push someone into a banana peel and they slip on the banana peel, you're the one that pushed them in the banana peel and they slip.
But
And they
he's
did-
not
then
the
they
one
died,
that
you're
put.
still
He's
a
not the
cause.
one. He's not the one that wrapped its arms around the building and forced it to break its arms.
That's part of its nature.
didn't-
So-
and it would have broken
so-
its arms
so-
if he
so-
didn't smack
It would
with
have
the
already
rod.
no. It would have broken the arms because the building was too big. It broke the arms because it couldn't reach around the building. Not because fucking Big Man Japan came and hit it with a stick.
The swing of the stick broke the arm.
It was
You
because
could
it was
say
wrapped
that
around the
It
building.
could have snapped, but the
It
cause
was because it
that
was wrapped
happened-
around the building. It had nothing
Why,
to
why are
do
you Why are you
with the
so
stick.
in love with whataboutism? I don't understand.
It's this great debate. We're having
That's how
this
it
great
is.
debate. That's how it is.
Oh, okay.
I don't think either of these monsters would have died without Big Man Japan's involvement.
I'm here.
Hey,
I'm
me
meeting
too.
I'm meeting you in the middle. I'm saying manslaughter too.
I'm stating that Big Man
Kaiju
Japan
slaughter.
would not have been a contributing factor to their deaths because these monsters are not the brightest. The leaping monster is jumping on a fucking Ferris wheel. I want to bring that.
I mean,
he's a one-legged monster jumping on an object that goes round and round and round. You don't.
what I will give you with the leaping monster is that he eventually probably would have killed himself for sure.
Yeah.
But I think Big Man Japan's involvement was the cause of this specific fight. But yeah, he probably wouldn't like jumped off a cliff or something and fallen to his death.
Court adjourned.
In
Objection.
this instance,
I'm taking
in
this
this
as a
instance-
victory.
compromised.
You talked it down to manslaughter. At the very least.
Accidental homicide.
Kangaroo. This is the kangaroo court.
Yeah,
Kangaroo
it sure is. Much like the kangaroo of the jumping monster, right? Because they both hop. But
Mhm.
Yes, they
And
believe.
both are
Um,
kind of both are muscular too.
Oh shit! Was he jumping for joy?
Oh, he might have been.
Shit. Oh, shit. Look at that. Oh, man.
But yeah, so he clearly stays there for a little while, because the next time that we see him, he's regular sized again, and he is drinking with three different women. He's in a kind of dive bar ish type situation.
Karaoke.
On a bender.
Yep, he's going on a bender, and he's getting pretty loaded and stuff, and we get some interesting outside character analysis. There's an older lady with him, and she gets interviewed by the crew.
Which the
And-
cameraman, whoever's doing the questions, are fucking idiots. Like, just complete
Yeah, so
questions they're asking.
all right. But anyways, so they ask her, it's like, oh well, how long have you known him? Oh, I've known him for a really long time. How often does he come here? Yep. And she responds with like, oh well, every time he's in town, he comes in and stuff. And oh well, do you guys keep in touch? And like, no, not really, not unless he's here. And then asks her, I can't remember if he just like point blank asks her if she's like a lady of the night or not. I might be conflating that because of later events. But he does at the very end of the interview ask her, um, how old are you? And then she responds with, kind of embarrassedly, well, how old do you think I am? And the cameraman says, I don't know, 50. And like, we actually find out she's 52. Um, and then they kind of the cameraman and her both try to play it off as like, oh, but like you're just on the older side of 48 and like all this stuff, and it's kind of not great. um
Because you don't be
and
going asking a woman about the age, regardless. And
yeah, I mean,
and you definitely don't
generally,
go
like it's a faux pas,
when.
certainly.
Definitely don't go. Oh shit, you look older than that. After they tell you the number.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, she confirms it. She confirms that she is 52. And so then we see him drinking some more. We see like a quick montage of like, oh well, are you guys friends? And then it's like, oh well, we're not like romantically involved in any way. Like I would just say we're really good friends and all this stuff. And we see like a bunch of like photos of like both of them, kind of kissing up on each other and like being really close to one another, like definite like shoulders touching or like arms around one another, and like sure they are drunk. However, I would, for the US audience, this is Japan, and like that kind of like display of affection in public is, more than friends. um
Did
that's
anyone
not really a thing there.
um did anyone else get like the feeling that she is the only person in his life that actually cares about him?
Yes, I did.
Because
Definitely, yeah.
she says like, I wish I wish I could like give him a break and abuse my body to go get giant and fight monsters and just give him a break for a few fights.
Yeah, she does say that, which I thought was really sweet. Because like I don't think anyone in his life, as we find out like pretty quickly after this, really cares about him or what he does.
Yeah,
No.
I liked her.
Yeah, she's definitely a good character. Definitely a character
Hmm.
that.
We only got her in that one scene, but
Yeah,
I
it's
could have
very
I could have used some
underutilized.
more of her.
Yeah, and I actually I don't think that she was underutilized. Like I would have loved to have seen more of her. However, like she does exactly what she needs to do, which is like garner another like layer in this onion of sympathy for Daisato.
I wouldn't
Um,
mind them ending up together. I wouldn't mind that. He deserves. He deserves it. Why not? I mean,
He definitely deserves some happiness in his
yeah,
life.
yeah. And then we see the three of, or excuse me, the four of them all leaving. The three ladies, the other two ladies we know nothing about really, um, and her. They get him drunkenly into the taxi finally, and then he's like, "Wait, where are you going? Like, you're coming? Like, come with me. You're coming with me. Why are you leaving?" And then so she goes with him, and then they drive off in the taxi into the night.
And this
Um,
when after they drive off, we see the cameraman again. Well, we never actually see the cameraman, but we hear the cameraman like he addresses one of the other women that are there, and he's like, "Whoa, you're tall. How tall are you?" It's just like another weird hitting on, or like, I guess
really
Which
they
is
bad.
funny
are.
because I think she said
Really
like
well,
6 or 5'7".
bad. Just a,
and it's actually bad in Japan too. Specifically because they general like I'm not gonna like go on a super hardcore diatribe about like how Japan treats their women. However, to not be like short, as a woman should be in
Smaller, yes.
Japan, is definitely considered not good. So it's kind like the scene is portrayed in a way that like if you were like grew up in Japan and stuff, like these are not good. Like these are not like, they're kind of freaks, right? Like that's kind of like what they're getting at. Like these people stray far from the norm. Um, but this is also, we
And
also see like this is a moment where Daisato is happy to be around, people who are not of the same fabric.
Yeah, I think also to emphasize like the how obviously this camera crew's exploiting Sato, to
Oh, for sure.
they're bad
Right.
natured.
Right. Yeah. And this is the like first real time that we actually get to see like, oh well, maybe, because up until this point it seems fairly balanced. And then this is kind of a turning point where we see like the cameraman
Well,
like actually want to show, the negative, like more of the negative in Daisato's life.
Yeah.
Um,
uh,
well, I
I
I,
don't
I
think they
always
had a
kind of like,
choice but to show. I think his life is mostly negative. That's what they got to work with, so that's what they're doing.
yeah, I mean, I agree. The tone is when they're interviewing Daisato, like the tone is pretty sad. But as far as like, I mean, the cameraman, it never gets like super crazy, but it gets a little, that you do see the exploiting, and then you also like we've already seen like in a past scene where the cameraman is talking to the agent, like he pans in on her like feet and legs and like is just obviously like leering at women a lot.
yeah.
They do a very
Yeah.
good
He
job
is.
at personalizing the cameraman without showing him whatsoever. Like the
Right,
cameraman
Oh
right.
yeah.
has his
So
own
I think we're
Definitely.
personality.
getting we're getting hints, with like more subtle hints that like, yeah, this cameraman is not trying to show, Sato in the best light, or he doesn't have the best of intentions.
Right.
I think
Right.
because I think also he like after he basically in a was offensive to those ladies too, like asking how tall they were. He was like also being like, oh well, I do like photography and stuff too,
Oh
like
yeah,
those kind of
yeah.
creeps.
I mean, pretty much, yeah, he's being a creeper. He's being a creeper. And he
Yeah.
he comments
Definitely.
on the agent stockings. Well, they were very cool stockings, but it
Mm,
was just in a way where like he's like panning on her like feet specifically and her legs,
mm.
and like
Oh yeah,
makes a comment about her legs and her stockings.
It's almost like Quentin
yeah.
Tarantino got into the scene for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were
Just for
really cool
just for a
stockings,
couple seconds for though.
but we are
Um.
developing the character of the cameraman like through those kind of subtler cues.
Mhm.
Yeah. Which is another like very strong credit to this film to have like a, someone that you don't see at all have such traits. I think it's really really cool. Um. And so we hop to the next morning. Um, they are waiting at a train station and they see a car with two people. They get a kind of far away shot from it and they're down the road. We see Daisato get out of the car. We see the car drive away with the lady that's known him for a really long time. His I would say his best friend. Um, and she is driving. The cameraman kind of flag her down, and um, look, they're like, oh, like, I can't remember exactly what they say. It's like, oh, what happened? It's like, oh, he just needed a place to stay or something like that. And then we see like all these like tiny dogs in the car. There's like four like tiny, super cute, like little puffball dogs. Um, Uh, but yeah, and it's really great. Just some more like characteristics of this lady, like she's a caregiver essentially, with all those dogs and stuff, taking them with her and stuff. Um, and then we get back to Daisato's house. And we find out we need to go take care. We need to go visit Grandpa. Um, and so we go with Daisato over to the nursing home, and the cameraman ask one of the attending nurses there. It's like, oh well, is he a problem? And they're like, no, he's not really a problem. He mainly just kind of sits there and stuff, kind of looks out into the distance, and then they're like, oh well, like does he have dementia or like what's going on? And they're like, yeah, I mean he's got a little bit of dementia and stuff, but it's not like it's not like extreme dementia. Like he still kind of knows sort of like where he is or like what he's doing, but like not super a lot. And uh, we see Grandpa and Daisato, have a meal together. Um, and after Daisato visits him, he now has a meeting with the agent or the counter agent. Um, at this point, she makes it a point to say like you need to you have to take more advertisements on, and the new advertisement is going to be across your chest, so just try not to cross your arms.
This is when the
Um,
product placement starts getting really bad. This is when I started assuming that this wasn't an actual movie and this was just a bunch of weird Japanese commercials strung together for a second. I was like, are we getting tricked here? Are we just watching a bunch of fucking commercials? Because some Japanese commercials will be having the same production as this movie does, and it will get as bizarre and as crazy. So it's I was I got a little skeptical once that started popping up.
yeah, well, I mean, it kind of goes into the whole thing of like this is slowly becoming more and more unhinged as we get through here. Um, Smokey, do you remember the next monster that he fights where he does actually have to like cross his arms?
Was that the stink monster? Was that the stink monsters?
No, not yet. There's another monster he has to
Baby
fight.
mon? What I
No, 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 it's
Baby
not the
monster
baby.
was? I could have swore Baby
N-
monster was after stink monsters.
Yeah, it is. But I can't remember which one he fights. He fights like another monster. And fights another kaiju. Um, and going into this kaiju fight is much more important than the kaiju fight itself, um, because this is the time where we get to see uh, the lackadaisical nature of some of these facilities he goes to. This is where we also find out that like there used to be 52 different facilities that don't exist anymore, and this one doesn't really care if they film or not. And we see the whole ritual of him, how he gets big. Um, so,
Oh fuck!
uh,
Is this the? We're on the eyeball monster now, isn't it? This is that weird
It's the
yes,
chicken with
eyeball
yes,
the.
yes.
monster.
It is.
Yes.
It is the eyeball monster. That's right. That's right. So before the eyeball monster fight, we go into the back. We get to see behind the scenes of the whole facility and stuff. This is also where we get a hint at a couple of different things. Not going to get super duper into it. Just trying to pick up the pace here a little bit. Um, but we see this like whole ritual and stuff. The guy shooting the camera, like everyone's kind of like a little weirded out that there's a camera crew with him. And the priest that is performing this bushido ritual with Daisato has to like do his like parts a couple of different times. Like the documentary guy's like, no, start from this point, and like just has to like repeat it. And I think they're doing that intentionally to show like how it actually has no effect on anything. And in fact, after we
That
see this
or
ritual, he goes
I
around and
have to
asks
add
people.
I have to add this reality. Just this is just like a an actual thing like reality TV and documentaries do. If they don't like a way that you said something, they will literally just have you repeat the line over what you said over and over and over again until you say it how they want you to say it.
Yeah, I mean that's very common, right? I think hopefully most people would know that by now. However, so they go around and ask like, well, how important is this ritual? And like pretty much everyone's just like, yeah, I mean, it's not really that important. The two most important things we get out of this scene is one, we find out that um, the military themselves, they get point blank asked, well, what about the justice he brings, or like, and they're like, oh, well, I mean, he provides a good, he provides a lot of justice for us. And then they ask the military guys, what do you think about justice? And they say, justice is complicated. Um, and it's really great because we find out later why they feel that justice is complicated. Um, However, the other important thing with the scene is that we find out that when he does transform, he has a huge giant pair of purple underpants that he has to stand inside of, which is a great way of flipping the trope on its head because all transforming characters that get really big, they do the whole thing of like, oh well, do their clothes grow with them, or like why does it like like the Hulk is a great example, um, and you can you can kind of see like the Hulk's pants like always just magically happen to stay on and stuff, right? So no one's hanging dong
They
like
turn to
if they're
shorts.
transformative. Um, and this is also where we find out how he transforms, which is he gets two different electric connectors like you would use to jumpstart a car. He gets one on each nipple, and then he gets a high voltage through his body, and this makes him grow huge. Until then, he's just standing inside of these underpants where the crotch is, like where the front crotch is, where the junk is, like
It's
that's
gotta be
where
ranked.
the
It
that
has
is
to
where
be
the
ranked.
the
There's no way
sweat
they
is
can watch
the
this.
sweat is stored right there in those little edges that he has to stand on.
It to me,
And
it made his body look like the dick.
yeah, it did. Yeah, it
did.
totally did. Um, and so he gets shocked, and he gets super huge, and that is where um, we get to meet the eyeball monster.
But unfortunately, we're gonna have to take a commercial break. We can't get
Wah,
into that.
wah.
So gonna have to wait until
Coming
we get
up,
back. Yeah.
the eyeball monster.
All right.
The eyeball monster's great. You're gonna want to hear it.
Okay.
You're
So
gonna love the Eyeball Monster.
if you have been listening to the review this long, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Please like, comment, and share the video around. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. And please tune in for part 2. This will be the end of part 1. Thank you again.